Good morning. My name is Stefan Jekel. I look after the African as well as Middle Eastern and European listings here at NYC Euronext. And on behalf of Duncan Niederauer, our CEO, who is not in the building today, let me all welcome you to today's Africa Investor Summit. And also from us, compliments to Africa Investor, Hubert, and the team for putting together such a tremendous program today with such a strong turnout. And also from us, a word of thanks to all the sponsors enabling such success. Just briefly on NYC Euronext in general, I'll spare you some of the statistics, but more than 1/3 of the world's equity trading is actually handled by our platforms in Europe and here in the US. But how is that relevant to Africa? Our Africa footprint is actually growing. We right now have 14 companies listed from 5 different countries in Africa on our platforms in Europe and here in the US. Those countries actually are, well, most obviously, you know, South Africa, you would have guessed that, but obviously also names like Morocco, Senegal, Cameroon, and the Ivory Coast. So those 14 companies today actually add up to a market cap of $90 trillion. And there will be other panels, and also here, Ashley, I'm sure, will not fail to mention that there has been a tremendous growth in these companies, and actually those same 14 companies that today are worth $90 billion. A year ago when we sat here, it was 76. So there's a nice 20% return in those 14 names. I mentioned we have entry points of listing here in the US, obviously this building, New York Stock Exchange, but also our platforms in Europe. Most recently, we added a platform in London, so we're now a competitor with the LSE, what until now has been a monopoly listing in the UK, meant listing on the LSE. That has changed this summer, and NYC Euronext now is starting a market in London as well. In terms of African community, again, with that portfolio of listing solutions for you as a company, mainly to raise money for you as an investor to participate in the African equity story. With those listing solutions that we provide, we obviously also cater to languages such as English, not only, of course, but also like French, Dutch, and Portuguese. So many of the prevalent languages in Africa. Other than that, coming to my closing, there's obviously also many other ways for investors to participate in the African success story. We now have a growing number of exchange-traded funds listed on both sides of the Atlantic, and right now with 10 exchange-traded funds that have assets of over $1 billion, you can also participate as an investor in a portfolio or in a cross-section of the African success story. Last but not least, another part of our business is, of course, technology. So providing the engines for stock exchanges, if you want. And there we have very strong partnerships with Tunis, Casablanca, and also the BVMAC. So, in brief, to frame our strong partnership with Africa, those were my opening comments. Again, welcome everyone. Thank you, Africa Investor, and thanks to all the sponsors and supporters. Welcome.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.